Daf is Daf Lamed Hey. We're going to begin by the Mishnah on Daf Lamed Daled Amud Beis, the second Mishnah. After we explained in the previous Mishnayos the takonos that Rabbi Gamliel made by Gittin Mipnei Tikkun Ha'olam, the Mishnah now brings other takonos that Rabbi Gamliel instituted, and the second din is also by Gittin. And then, however, the first topic we're going to learn is something else. And then the Mishnah speaks about different takonos that Hillel made in regards to Shemitah. Let us begin. The Mishnah starts, Ein almana nifras mnichse yisaimim. An almana, a widow, if she now wants to collect her ksuba, her husband passed away, she wants to collect her ksuba, there's no money in the bank account, so now she wants to come and take away the property that the yisaimim inherited. Because the ksuba says that if, God forbid, the husband passes away, she has a certain amount of money that she gets. Thank you very much. That she gets. And now there's no money in the bank account, so she wants to go and collect from Nichse Yisaimim. So the din is, halacha says, Ein amana nifras minichse Yisaimim ela b'shvua, that she has to take a shvua stating that she has not received the ksuba, or she didn't get part of it in his lifetime. However, what happened is after a certain tkufa, Nimnu me lashbia. The Beis Din made a takana that she should not swear, and the Gemara is going to explain exactly why. So what happened is the Chachamim made a takana that the Beis Din made a takana that she should not swear, and because she wasn't able to swear, she was forfeiting her ksuba. Every almana, if somebody would give her a hard time from collecting the ksuba, she would not be able to swear, and the almanas were not getting the ksuba. So what happened? Hiskin Rabbi Gamliel azaken shtei nederes the yisaimim kol ma sheyirtzu. So Rabbi Gamliel made a takana that the almana should make a neder. Like Rashi explains what the neder is that she should choose something, saying that if she, God forbid, is lying, so she should, like Rashi gives an example, if she's lying, she'll say that I won't be able to eat certain foods. In other words, she's bringing out how honest she is. So Rabbi Gamliel made a takana that she has to make a neder, and once she makes this neder showing that she's serious, the goyvik subasa, then she can collect her ksuba. So that's the takana that Rabbi Gamliel made. Again, an almana, in order for her to collect her ksuba from nichse yisaimim, she needs a shvua. The Beis Din years later said that she cannot swear, and then Rabbi Gamliel Azokin made a takana that she should not, that if she wants to collect her ksuba, she has to make a neder on herself, stating that if she's lying, certain foods, etc., will be usher to her. Next din, ha'edim chaysmin ala get, min ha'teira, edim do not need a sign on a get, and Rabbi Gamliel Azokin instituted that edim is chaysmin ala get, and the third case is Hiskin Prusbo Mipnei Tikkun Ha'olam, and Hillel also made a takana, a prusbo. Why Mipnei Tikkun Ha'olam? As we explained in a few days ago, a prusbo, as we explained in Daf Lamed Beis, the Torah commands that in the 7th year all halvos are go away, and Hillel saw that people were stopped giving loans because of the drei till shvis. So he made a takana of prusbo that you give the shtaris to Beis Din, and now Beis Din collects for you. Okay, so now the Mishnah taught us that an almana, in order for her to get paid back from the nichse yisaimim, she has to swear. And what does she swear? She swears that she has not collected any of the ksuba at all. So the Gemara asks, my area almana, why does the Mishnah say, like a chiddush, that an almana, when she wants to get paid from the nichse yisaimim, she has to swear? The Gemara asks, afilu kula alma nami. Any case, every person always has to make a shvua if he wants to extract money from the nichse yisaimim. We learned halacha, we established halacha is that any creditor who wants to habali para minichse yisaimim, any creditor that wants to now take and extract money from the properties of the yisaimim, the din is lo yipara ela b'shvua, he has to make a shvua. So why does the Mishnah say, let's take a chiddush, that ein almona nifras minichse yisaimim? Anybody, any person who wants to extract money from nichse yisaimim, he has to make a shvua beforehand. So the Gemara says, Almana Itzrachele. The Mishnah the Tana needed to tell us that it's a special din by Almana. Why is it a special din? So you would think that by the case of Almana, Mishum China, that, like Rashi says, is that the men want to find favor in the eyes of the woman. They want women to marry them. So I would think Akilu Rabbanan Gabo, that the Chachamim are mekel, and they were matter her to collect the ksuba without even a shvua, because men want it to be an easy process. So if she's going to realize that if God forbid something happens to him, to my husband, I'm going to have to start making shvuas, women are not going to want to get married. So I would think that Chachamim are mekel in such a case. Kamash Malan. Therefore, the Mishnah teaches us that in every case, an almana only collects a ksuba from the Nichsi Yisayimim only with a shvua. And the Mishnah said that Nimnu Milashbia. It says that the Beis Din refrained from administering shvuas to her years later. So the Gemara says, my timer, what's the reason why the Chachamim stopped a lady from swearing? And then what happened was that she wasn't able to collect her ksuba. So the Gemara says, if you're telling me it's the reason of the story of Rav Kana, Rav Kana says, and some people say, Rav Yehuda said in the name of Rav. What was the story? There was a story in the years of famine that there was a person who deposited a dinar zav, a golden coin, by an almana. He tells the almana, you guard this dinar zav for me. So what happened? So she put it in a jug of flour to guard it. And she forgot about it. And what happened? So she baked the pas, right? Like the Maisur Yesu Maker Shabbos. She took the flour and she baked bread with it, and the golden coin got baked with it. So what happened? Yomim, after some time, Bo Bal Hadinar v'Amrla, so the owner of the Baal Dinner came and said, Havili dinari, give me my dinner back. So Amrle, this Almana said, Yahana Sam Hamavis be'echad mibonel shal ois isha. In other words, she said, let poison come and kill one of these children. In other words, one of my children, God forbid, imhanisi midinar chaklum. If I had any enough from your dinner, let one of my children die. In other words, she was trying to bring out how she didn't do anything. It wasn't her fault that it's missing. So Amru, they said, it was only a few days later that one of her children passed away. And Amru, when the Chachamim heard what happened, they said, if this, God forbid, this happens to somebody who's telling the truth, how much more so than somebody is not saying the truth, how much a person has to be so careful from a shvuah. So that's why the Chachamim prevented people from swearing, because shvuah was a great zach from this story, and they said that we don't want people to swear, even though it was the truth. So that's why. What did he do? He said, "Don't make a shvuah, make a neder." All right.
But the problem was that the air in the flour, there was a little bit of
air. The Gemara is going to say that. Okay, so what happened, guys? Okay, so what happened? So the Gemara asks now, my taima iansha. What's the reason why she was taka punished? She swore that she did not have any hana from this dinner, and she taka didn't have any hana from the dinner. She took the flour, she gave the flour to the ani. She baked the bread. She gave it to the ani. What do you want from her? So the Gemara says, the ishtari lei mokum dinner. What happened was by her placing the dinner in the kemach, in the flour, so now it's basically there's less flour used to bake the bread. Why? Because this part of that bread has that piece of, has the dinner there. So therefore she had to know that she saved herself some bread. Which is also a little bit funny also, because what did she do with this? She gave it to a poor person. She did stucca. So it's like Kool-Aid, everything went to that ani. Anyway, so now the Gemara asks, Umay, so my minish babemis. So what are you saying? She didn't say the truth. Lamaisa, she wasn't nishba b'emes because she had enough from the dinner. So where it says kimish nishba b'emes, what the Gemara means to say, it's like she told the truth, like she was nishba b'emes, and like Rashi says, is because she was a shaykik. She thought that she didn't have any hana. Now, and like Taisus explains, B'derech klal, somebody who swears falsely, thinking that it's truth, he does not get punished. But over here, this woman should have been more careful not to make any mistakes. Okay, so now the Gemara says, "My taima ionshi." What's the reason why she was punished? Okay, so we said, "My nishba b'emes, kimisha nishba b'emes."
What should she have done with the coal?
She should have been, like Taisa said, she should have been more careful.
By putting it in the flour.
She should have been more careful. So, yeah,
I
that's
have to be more careful. What
So they could get it safe in the house.
she should have realized that there's a gold dinner coin there and not bake it up. Okay, so now what do we see from this story? We see how great it is to swear falsely, even b'shegig, how much more so b'mezid, and therefore that's why nimnu malashbiyah. That's why they said not to swear, because maybe she's going to swear falsely and getting to get punished. So the Gemara says, if that's the reason why, nimnu malashbiyah, so my irya amana, why dafke did the Mishnah tell us that the amana, nimnu malashbiyah, afilu grushanami, even in the case of a regular grusha, she should not be able to swear, because for the same reason, swearing is a very, very big thing. Alama, Amar Reb Zeda, Amar Shmuel. So why did Reb Zeda, Amar Shmuel say, La yishanu, this that they said that you can't swear, who should not swear is El Amana, by Amana, but a grusha must be an essay. But a grusha we do make swears. Now the question is, if Nimnu Malashbiyah, because the shua is so severe, we see what happened over here. So not only Amana, a grusha, nobody should swear. And we know the din is that a grusha, if she wants the divorcee, if she wants to now collect her ksuba, she swears and she collect her ksuba. Why? Cheda, the same thing. We should be worried about shuas. So where it says Amana Shani, and Amana is different. Why? The Bahi Ana, the Katarchi Kami Diasmi, because of the Hana that she has, or she's giving, that she is taking care of these Yisaimim. So now what's going to happen? So she says, I'm taking care of the Yisaimim, and I'm giving my whole time, and she's going to start making cheshbon. Babysitters charge $20 an hour, so be'emes, I'm taking care of the Yisaimim, so now it's $60 a day. She's going to start to make cheshbonis in her head why she's allowed to take money. So she's thinking that she's not really swearing falsely. Mela by a grusha, she can't make these cheshbonis. But by the Amana, she's really going to convince herself that she deserves the money. And realize, and she's going to make a shvua, making cheshbonis in her head why she really deserves the money, and she really can't. So what did they say? They said, Nimnu malashbiyah b'dafka by an Amana. Okay. Amar Rav Yudam Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba. So now he says, Amar Rav Yudam Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba. Rav Yehuda said that Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba said, Rav and Shmuel Rav and Shmuel both say, Lo yishanu, this that they said Naaman is not allowed to swear is only elabet Bezdin, only in a Bezdin. Like Rashi says, in Bezdin, the shvua is very, very severe. They have to hold a teda and or tefillin. They have to nishba b'shem Hashem. So, and the einish of swearing falsely is very harsh. So therefore, when we said Nimnu Malashbiyah is only in Bezdin, but Avachusta Bezdin Mashbiyah, but outside of Bezdin, where they have to make a shvua d'Rabbanan, which a shvua d'Rabbanan they have to hold first of all, they don't have to hold a Nikitas Chayfetz, and they don't mention Hashem's name. They just say that if they're swearing false, then a klala should come on them. So therefore, since the einish is not so severe, you don't have to hold yourself back from making a shvua. Okay, so now the Gemara says, Eini, is it so? You're telling me that Rav was matter to be mashbiyan amana outside of Bezdin, but Rav le'magbek suba la'armalta. Rav would not allow a almana to collect her ksuba from nichse yisemim. Why? Because since nimnu melashbiyah, so I see clearly that Rav, even outside of Eretz Yisrael, did not allow people to collect their ksuba. According to Rabbi Yehuda, Rav l'cheda should maybe make him swear outside of Beis Din to collect the ksuba. So Gemara says, kasha, it's taka a question. So now the Gemara says, the surah masnu hachi. In surah, the Gemara now brings different nischois, what happened from Rabbi Yehuda b'Shem Rav. The surah masnu hachi. In surah, they taught the teaching of Rabbi Yehuda Azai, like we just explained. In Hardai masnu hachi, however, in Hardai they explained Rabbi Yehuda as follows. This that they taught that would not mashbia a amana ella bebezdin. Chutz lebezdin, but chutz lebezdin mashbia naisi. Now, Rav said, afilu chutz lebezdin nami. If even outside of a bezdin, ain mashbia naisi, we don't make a swear. Rav tamei. Rav is close according to his opinion. The Rav limag b'ksubalar malta. Rav would not allow an amana to electric ksuba. Why? Because he was not masking to give her a shvua even outside of Beis Din. So for the Gemara, v'lahadra v'ligba. But l'chayda, why don't we give a not a shvua but a neder? Let the widow take a neder instead of a shvua and collect her ksuba, like the Mishnah says. So the Gemara answers and says, b'shnei derav kili nidrei. In Rav's times, Nidarim were treated very lightly, and Rav was concerned that the Almana would not treat the Isser created by the vow with Chumrah, and this would result in Yisraelim losing out on their part of their Yerusha, and the Almanas basically violating, creating their own vows. So therefore, he said that we don't trust even ladies to make their own Nidarim. Okay, so now the Gemara says, there was a mice involving a certain almana who came before Rav Huna, and she wanted to collect her ksuba. So what happened? Omar lo, he said to her, Ma evidlech, what can I do for you? The Rav loi magbi ksuba lar malta. Rav paskin that a person does not collect or almana does not collect her ksuba, who's a widow. So Amar alei. So now what happened? The widow said to him, "Midu taime isn't the reason ela dilma noketna mide miksubasa." The reason why Rav said that an almana cannot collect her ksuba is perhaps you're saying is because I already took some payment from my ksuba. So Chai Hashem tzvakes in manisi miksubasi klum. I swear, she used a very strakaloshin that I did not derive any benefit from my ksuba. So Rav Huna says, made the Rav, that even though the Beis Din does not give an almana a shvua, and therefore that's why she cannot collect her ksuba. Nevertheless, Rav agrees that b'keifetzes, where with regard to a person who leaps and takes an oath on her own initiative, that her shvua is accepted, and she could collect payment for her ksuba. So since this woman took initiative, so we say that we could trust what she's saying, that she did not collect any of her ksuba. Okay, now the Gemara says, Ahi da'asila kamei d'Rabbi bar Rav Huna. There was a mice involving a certain almana who came before Rabbi bar Rav Huna to collect her ksuba. Omar lo, he said to her, my avidlech, what can I do for you? Rav said that a woman does not collect payment from her ksuba who's a widow. Va'aba Mori, and my father, who is my master, which is Rav Huna, both paskin that a person does not collect the payment of a ksuba for a widow. So Amar Alei, so now she said to him, okay, if I can't collect my ksuba, havli mizaynai. At least give me mizainis. A woman, either she's married or she's divorced. If she's still married, so she gets mizainis. That's what the ksuba says, that she can get mezainis from the Nichsei Yisayimim. If she's divorced, so give her the ksuba, make up your mind. So what do you say? Amar Leah, so he said to her, you don't get even mezainis. Why? Because basically you put your foot in your mouth. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, hati vas ksuba bebeis din. Somebody goes ahead and now demands your ksuba in beis din, ain't no mezainis. You can't have it both ways. If you're demanding your ksuba, that means you're saying that you're divorced or you want to get divorced. If you want your ksuba to be paid up, so then you can't collect what the ksuba says. It's like a tarta desasuri. So basically, she doesn't get her ksuba because she can't make a shvua, because we don't trust her. She also can't get mezainis, so he says, there's nothing I could do. So what happened? Hear this out. This almana became so angry and said to Amar Allah, said to Rabbi Arahuna, Afchu lekursi, may his chair be overturned. In other words, she said that may he fall from his position of power. She was so upset. Ki beitrei avadtali, as he paskin for me in accordance with the different opinions of two people. Now, what happened? Afchu lekursi v'tertzu. So Rabbi Barav Huna was concerned about this klala, so he overturned his chair in order that the curse should be literal. The Gemara says, nevertheless, he was not saved from this curse. He was weak as a result from this lady's klala. The Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda, who was the Talmud of Shmuel, said to Rabbi Yirmiyah Bidah, he said like this: if an almana comes to collect payment of her ksuba, adra bebezdin, give her a shvua in bezdin, administer a vow in bezdin, ve'ashba chus to bezdin, and administer a oath outside of bezdin. V'leisa kala v'lipu b'udni, and he said, let the report be received in my ears that you did so. So I desire to perform an action. In other words, to enable an almana to collect payment from her ksuba, he said to do this, and this is in contrast to the statement that we said from Rav's student, who holds that an almana cannot collect payment for a marriage. He says that you should do it in this way, that she could collect payment from her ksuba. Okay, now the Gemara says, Gufa, we're going to return to this, it literally means the text itself, the matter itself. The Mishnah taught that the Beis Din does not give an oath to an almana in order to collect payment for her. That's what he said, Nimnu malashbia. So Gufa Amar Rabbi Shmuel, Lo yishanu ela almana. They taught this only with regards to an almana. The almana cannot make a shvua. Aval grusha, however, when it comes to a divorcee, mashbin eisei, the Beis Din does give her a oath. So the Gemara says, Ugrusha, the adra loy, is this to say that the Beis Din gives a vow to a divorcee, only gives a neder to the divorcee, not a shvua, and this is not enough for her to collect her ksuba. But didn't they send from there? In other words, from Eretz Yisrael, what do they send? They send the document. What do the documents say? Kabilis kita min yudo da achabar hidro the misgore ahayamore. They sent a document from Eretz Yisrael. They sent how so and so, the daughter of so and so, received a get from the hand of this achabar hida, and who was called Ayamori. Unadares va'asares peish ba'elam alay delay kabilis miksubeis ela glufkura echad v'sefer tilam echad v'sefer iuv v'mishalos b'loim. And it said there, she took a vow and asked her the produce of the work to herself, and she said she didn't receive her ksuba, anything other than like a coat, and tilim, and ioiv, and the different mshalis, and bluyim, and they were all worn out. And she said weiter, v'shamnu mechamisha mana, and we appraised them, and found that the value is only 500 dinars. And it says, when she comes to you with this document, collect the rest of the payment for her from the husband's property, which was in bubble. So what do we see from here? We see that it's also it's sufficient for an almana to take a shvua. Amar Rashi says, Ahu get Yivama Haman. Over there, that's talking about a different type of get. That's a get of Yivama that she received from the brother of her deceased husband, and it's not a standard get. So she therefore took a shvua and not a oath, in which all almanas do, as she was demanding payment of her ksuba from the property of her deceased husband. It wasn't a typical case. Okay, then the Mishnah taught, he's going to be Gamliel Azakin Shetehei Nederes. So Gamliel instituted that she should take, for the benefit of the orphans, she should take a neder. And again, we said this neder, like Rashi said, the neder is that she says that if I'm lying, I'm answering, let's say, food for me. Rav Huna says, "Lo yishanu ela b'shalei nisis." They taught us that this halacha only in the case where she did not marry again. If she did not marry again, then she could make the shvua. Or I should say she should make this neder. Avon nisis, but if she married again, ein madir noise, we do not give her this. We don't let her vow. Now, so the Gemara says, 1 second. Nisis, my time, what's the reason that an almana who married again may not take a neder in order to collect the mefer labal? It's because of a concern that perhaps she's lying and is not concerned about the neder. Why? Because she relies and says, my husband will be mefer. So the Gemara says, Kiloi nisis nami. Also, if she's not married, so then I should be worried. The chiminaspa mefer labal, when she does get married, she's going to take this neder. She's going to go and tell the Beis Din what she wants to hear. She's going to go out collect the ksuba. Then she's going to get married to somebody else, and she's going to say, "Make a cheshbon, the neder that I made, my new husband will be made for it." So my answer is, "Ein habal made for bekoidman." The husband does not have the ability to be made for with regards to vows his wife took prior to the marriage. So the Gemara asks and says, "V'neichash dilma ozli legabe chacham v'sharli." Let us be concerned that perhaps she in fact received a payment for her ksuba, and what does she rely on? She relies on the fact that she's going to go to a chacham to be matter the neder. So the Gemara says, "Kasavar tzarich lefartas a neder." Rav Huna holds that when a person wants to be matter the neder, he has to detail the neder before a chacham. So there's no concern that the chacham, knowing that she made a shvua or made a neder in order to collect her ksuba, will actually be made for this neder. Now, Rav Nachman disagrees with Rav Huna and said, "Afilu nisis, even if she married again, the Yisraelim can have the Beis Din make her make a shvua or make a neder." So the Gemara says, the Gemara asks, "Afilu nisis?" Rav Nachman Amar afilu nisis. The Gemara says, "Nisis, if she married, vade made for labal, for sure the husband will certainly nullify the vow." So my answer says, the madrina labarabim. We're talking about that the Beis Din gives the vow in public, and therefore her husband cannot nullify the vow. So the Gemara asks a shaila meisvei, and asks a shaila on the opinion of Rav Huna from Brisa. Nisis, in a case where she married again, so gave ksubasa nadra. She collects her ksuba of her marriage contract if she takes a vow. My love nadra hashta. Is it not the case that she takes a vow now after she's remarried? So we see that after she's remarried, she can make a neder. The Gemara says, "Loy." That's not what he means. The Brisa means is that dinidara miikara. It means that when she took a vow initially before remarrying. So the Gemara asks a shaila again on Rav Huna about Tanya, but we learned in a Brisa Nisis that if she married again, nederas v'gevik subasa, she takes a neder and collects payment of her ksuba. So we see clear that she takes a neder after remarrying. So the Gemara says, "Tanaihi be'emes is a machlikas tanaim," and iglaman da'amar neder shehuda barabim yesh le'afara, and a vow that was taken in public has the possibility of nullification by the husband, and therefore, even if the almana takes a neder in public, her husband can nullify it. And as a result of this, she can now collect payment of her ksuba only if she takes a vow before she marries. And there are those who say that a neder that was taken in public does not have the possibility of hafara. Therefore, even after the almana remarries, she's still able to take a neder and collect payment as she takes a vow in public. So now the Gemara says like this: since Rav Huna statement included the fact that one who requests a chacham to dissolve his vow must detail the vow. So the Gemara says, they asked a shayla tzarich lefardas another ain't tzarich. They asked, does one who comes to a chacham and requests that his neder be dissolved, does he need to detail the vow or does he not? So the Gemara says, Rav Nachman Amar ain't tzarich. Rav Nachman says he does not need to, and Rav Papa Amar tzarich, he does need to. Rav Nachman says he does not need to detail the vow because the Amr is tzarich. Because if you're going to say that he does need to detail the vow, sometimes he will cut short his statement. He was not going to provide all the details of the neder, and whatever the chacham heard, he will dissolve. And and really he didn't really hear the whole thing to dissolve it. So it's going to be a hafara, which is not halachically okay. So nevertheless, the one who took, right? So therefore, it's preferable that he just report that he took a neder, and the chacham will dissolve it entirely, whatever it is. So that's why Rav Nachman says any tzarich. Rav Papa Omer tzarich. Rav Papa says tzarich. Why? Because he holds that mishum milsa di isura. Rav Papa holds that he needs to detail the vow because this vow might concern matters that are isur, such as the case of the Mishnah, where it's essential that the neder is not mefer, as the purpose of the vow is to make sure that the almana is not lying. So in such a case, if the chacham is not aware of the circumstances that the widow took the vow, he can mistakenly dissolve the vow. So therefore, tzarech, he needs to be mefaret the whole entire neder. Okay, we'll stop over here. Let's do a quick chazara. Okay, so we start off the shir today from the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that when an almana wants to be paid back from the nichzi yisemim, ideally she has to swear. What happened was nimnu malashbia. They stopped this whole concept of shvua, as the Gemara said the whole story over there, that somebody who was like mamash saying the emes got killed, or her kids died, so they stopped this whole shvua, and then people were not getting their ksuba. So Rabbi Gamliel made a takana that this almana who wants to collect her ksuba nichzi yisemim should make a neder, saying that if she's lying, then food should be asked to her. And then she can collect her ksuba. Edim who chaysim alagat and they took an ilim. Hillel was misakin approvable because it took an ilim. So now the Gemara asks, why does the Mishnah give the case only on almana? Anybody who wants to collect payment from nichsi yisemim, they have to be with a shvua. So the Gemara says, I would think that almana is different because I would think the chachamim want a woman to get married. They don't want it to be such red tape. So a mekel. Kamashmalan, they were not mekel. Then the Mishnah said, Nimnu malashbia. Why nimnu malashbia? So he said, if you're saying the story of Reb Kana, which we said that it was in the times of famine, and a guy was mafki the dinner zov by an almana, and she put it in a jug of flour, and she baked it, and then gave it to an ani. And then the guy came and says, where's the money? And she said, I promised you that I didn't have any ano. And we see that, and then what happened was, and she said, if I did have ano, then my kid will die. And it wasn't until never one of her kids died. When the Chacham heard this, they said, if somebody is saying the truth, this happens, Kalachas Kama V'Kama, is somebody who's saying sheker. So the Gemara says, so why did she get punished? Because she had hana from the dinner, because she saved herself some flour by not giving the full amount of flour, I guess, that the ani thought he's getting, or the bread that the ani thought he's getting. So the Gemara says, why would you use Lashon Nishba B'emes? The Gemara says, Kami Nishba B'emes. So now the Gemara says, if that's the reason why Nimnu Malashbia, so why an almana, why not a grusha? Rabbi Zera said, because an almana is different. Why is almana different? Because an almana will start making cheshbonis, saying that she really took care of the yisemim, so she's going to start deducting money, that's thinking that it belongs to her. A grusha won't make that type of mistake. Okay, Amr Rav Yehuda, he said, Amr Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, Rav Ushmo both say that we say that an almana is not allowed to swear is only in Beis Din. Mechus to Beis Din, like we said, there's no sefer Torah over there. There must be an sefer. Fact the Gemara, but we know Rav is not really true. But Rav did not allow an almana to collect her ksuba even outside. So the Gemara says kasha. The Surah they taught like this, and Adai they taught that Rabbi Yehuda Mar Shmuel says that lo yishanu that you're not allowed to swear in Beis Din, but chutz to Beis Din must be in Eisei. And Rav says even chutz to Beis Din, an almana does not swear to collect her ksuba. And the Gemara says Rav goes to his reasoning that like ma'ab ksuba la malta. And so the Gemara asks, so why don't we make her at least take a neder? So the Gemara says it's because in the city, in the times of Rav, women were very mekel in the neder. There was a woman who came in front of Rav Huna and said, and wanted her ksuba from the nichse yisemim. So Rav Huna says, what should I do? Rav says that you can't collect ksuba from, an almana cannot collect the ksuba from the nichse yisemim. So she said, if the reason is because you think that I already got the ksuba, you should know, I swear that I never got the ksuba. So Rav Huna said that that she doesn't get the ksuba, and therefore in this case she should get the ksuba. And then Gemara brings a story that there was a lady who came in front of Rav Huna and said, also she wanted a nichse, she wanted a ksuba from the nichse yisemim. She said, what should I do? Rav paskin that le magbik ksuba la malta. And my father also paskin this way. So she said, okay, so give me my mezenis. He says, you can't get the mezenis because since you tevas ksuba, so you basically show you want to get divorced. So you can't get the ksuba because because you are a because the son Amana doesn't get the ksuba.
That's 22.
It's a catch-22, but you also can't get the mezanis. So she got so upset, she cursed at him, and she basically said you should lose your power. And he got so upset, he got nervous, so he turned over his chair, and he got very weak from this story. Pashut, he got cursed. Okay. He says that he disagrees, and he says that you should give her a shvua in Beis Din and outside of Beis Din, and it should be a koil, and in order that she should be able to collect the ksuba. Then the Gemara says, Gufa Amr Zayda Amr Shmuel, that this that we said, and she's not allowed to make a shvua is only a almana, but a grusha must be an say. So the Gemara says, you're telling me that a grusha is not allowed about the Yishalcha Mitam, and they said the whole thing that we see that the woman, this whole ma'aser there, that a woman couldn't make a shvua. So he says, no, over there that was the case of a yavama, and it wasn't a shvua over there. It was just she wanted to get her original ksuba from her husband back. He's going to be Gamil Zakashtin Ederes. So Rav Huna says, Lo Yishanu Ella, when she's not married, but if she was already married, then she doesn't make a neder. So the Gemara says, why? Because I'm worried that the husband will be made for the neder. So the Gemara says the same thing. When she's not married, she should also not be able to take a neder, because I'm thinking that when she gets married, her husband will to be made for a neder. So the Gemara says, "Ein about made for bekoidman." The husband is not allowed to be made for things that she said before her married. So the Gemara says, maybe let's be worried that she'll go to a chacham and be matter. So the Gemara says, a chacham will ask details and we'll realize why she wants to be made for it. Now, Rav Nachman says, even if she gets married, for sure her husband will be made for it, because it's not a problem. Why? Because it's done by Rabbim. Fred the Gemara Meisve Nisis Gevik Subasa. My love that she made the neder now, so I see a neder after marriage works. So the Gemara says no, lo neder mikara. Fred the Gemara, but we learned in our Brayso Nisis Nederes V'Gevik Subasa. So the Gemara says it's a machlekes tanaim. Man Domer says neder Shuda Barabim Yesh Le'afara, and the Man Domer says Ein Le'afara. Man Domer Ein Le'afara. And the other one holds Ein Le'afara. So they ask the question: Tzarich Lefarat and neder Ein Tzarich Lefarat. So Rav Nachman says Ein Tzarich. Or Papa Omar Tzarich. Rav Nachman says you don't need to have to, because sometimes his words will be cut off, or her words will be cut off, and she's not going to say the whole thing, and then the chacham will be mater shalei kedin. And the Papa says sarich mishum milsa d'isura, and since milsa d'isura, he has to be very, very careful not to make sure to give the full story.